So here we are, folks. We are on the official Prowlers and Paragons Diceweaver demo this afternoon. With us is Brandon Harris. He is the, well, pretty much everything developer guy for Diceweaver. And then you will recognize a number of names in the chat of folks who've been doing the Prowlers and Paragons thing online for quite some time. We are going to let Brandon steer the ship. We're going to ask that folks, for the most part, mute and post questions in the chat, and we will handle it that way. We will take some periodic breaks where we will have some just back and forth chat where Brandon, you feel like those are going to be good times for you to handle that. But I don't want you to feel like you're getting overwhelmed with a bunch of verbal stuff. So just let us know when you're ready to take a break and say, hey, buddy, any questions, and then we'll open up the voice chat. But for the most part, as I said, we're going to ask everybody else to mute. I am recording this, so hopefully you understand and are comfortable with being part of a recorded session that will be shared later. Take it away, Brandon.
Well, hopefully I'm not getting any echo. Can you hear me? Is everything fine? Okay, good. Hi, I'm your friend, Brandon. I'm not really big on giving life stories, but you can probably look me up on the internet. My big thing that you guys have used, the two of the big things that you guys may have used are Wikipedia and Siri. But neither one of those things are really my, they are my loves. Oh, well, Siri wasn't, that was a military contract. But Wikipedia is, and what I'm a big part of in my my entire general life is that I'm a very big on free culture and openness and well, pretty much just being a rebel, I guess. I have no other way of saying it. I'm not big on the man. So I would like to go ahead, and I'm realizing now that I have to connect to a different computer. I have to connect from this one too, because I cannot share when I'm on a different laptop. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm an idiot.
No worries.
Join without video, and then join with computer audio. Got it. Connected, and then this guy needs to take. This one needs the Jorm. I need him to have control. So whatever that.
Stand by, making that co-host.
Yeah. All right. There we go. All right. So let's present the screen. Just sure. Why not? We'll just show the whole thing. Why not? Because it'll be more fun that way. Look. Minimize that. So this is Diceweaver, or the beginning of the Diceweaver lobby. It's a VTT. It's also in the future going to become much more than that. It's my plans involve creating kind of a collaboration community where people can take their ideas, modules, and maps, and so forth and so on. But not just that, but like, here's my characters, here's my NPCs, here's these catalogs of weapons that I've created, here's these character classes, whatever. And then easily and quickly share them among this community. So people then like load these catalogs into their games and then they can do whatever. The point of Diceweaver is to allow you to have the complete control over your game. And the way this is done is with a or will be done, it's not quite done yet, is with a system we're calling house rules. And house rules will allow you to make changes to a game at any level, whether that is to rename the name of a power or a weapon, or to completely delete entire character classes or player races from your system. I don't like halflings in my D&D games. If I'm ever going to play one again, I'm just going to delete the halfling from the monster manual and the player character races thing entirely. No no tieflings or dragonborn for me.
Goodbye, gnomes. Gnomes are gone
Yeah,
forever.
exactly. You know, it's like you got your own game, you're going to do your own thing. So we want it to be able to make that like really obvious, and we also wanted to make that as easy as possible to do. That's the part that I'm stuck on because I got other stuff I got to work on, but it can be done, and we'll talk about how that's done. So I'm going to start with just showing you a couple things about the VTT and how it works. And then we'll go into things like making games and tabletops and inviting people and all the other kinds of accoutrements that happen to go along with things.
Just going to remind you, Brandon, this is very specifically a Prowlers and Paragons audience. So anything you want to point out focused in that direction, that's going to be good. Also, a reminder, which I'm going to be making frequently, because with the share screen, I'm not sure how many people have joined in. We are currently recording, so please, I hope that you are comfortable with the idea that you will be shown in a broadcast of this after this is done. So,
well, that sounds really great for me, having that mess up with my at the very beginning. It sounded like an idiot. So most of what I'm going to talk about there's a lot of Paragons and Prowlers and Paragon specific stuff that's built into the tabletop that we're going to see. But this is stuff that can be done for any game, right? So there's specific Prowlers and Paragons things, like one of which is a die macro that I'll show you. But any kind of game or tabletop you can create these things with. So if you click the name of your group, you'll get to a profile page, and the profile page will show you all sorts and kinds of stuff, like the catalogs, the players that are in it, the documents that you've included, the maps that you have deployed to the game, and you can go ahead and edit them directly there. This toolbar doc is dead. I think that was a PDF. You can add boards directly from here, or tables or documents. If you have some HTML documents or you have a PDF and you wanted to like just include it, that is super simple.
Brandon, would you be pedantic and explain what you mean by the term board?
A board. Okay, so a map is a map. You know, you think of the difference between a map and a board is that a board is a deployed map. A board is a map that has state. It has characters that are on it. It's effectively divorced from its source material at that point, so changes that are made to the map will not be reflected in the board. I think in some systems this is called a map is called a vault map, and then the deployed map is just called a map. Different organizations use different terms for these types of things. But you can, as your personal account, you will have all these maps that you create. If you create a map, it doesn't matter where you create it. They'll be kept in your library, and then you can redeploy them. So for instance, I have a ton of maps, and I can just import a lot of them here. They're not, like maybe we add this shipping container map, and or we do something else with it. I can do that, but it's easier to do it actually in the VTT, and I will show you how. So if we connect to the VTT, and it's intended to be interacted with in the VTT or outside of the VTT. Okay, so if you are just sitting around your table, like you can use Diceweaver while you're sitting in your kitchen, because it's all on the iPad or your phone and connected. Yeah.
Also, quick important note, you can in fact resize these screens. You can move the thing on the left, squish it down to give you more real estate on the map if that's what you want. This was something I recently discovered, which was huge.
Okay, yeah, so there's 3 different ways that you can do sizing on stuff. First up, if you change the font size, everything responds automatically. Diceweaver is a responsive design, so it will account for things like that. You can quickly close sidebars with this, or if you needed to resize it, you can do all of that. These are pretty basic, interactions. So let's create an encounter. But let's create a brand new one. And so we're going to close this board. And then we have this thing. Now watch this. I have this. There's this file here. Snowy graveyard. We'll just drag that in. Oh, now I have a snowy graveyard. Let's add some evil cultists who are resurrecting someone from the dead, maybe, I don't know. All right, we'll put them around this.
You did the minion version of those, right?
No, these are the real versions. I'll do a minion version of zombies.
Got it. Got it.
Let's give them some spell components. Like maybe your goal, the player's goal is reach the spell components and destroy them. Let's put this up here. Yeah, look at that. The Z-index problem. Target. Let's say that's what it is. Yeah. Then let's put a hero on here. Let's put a couple. Let's put Tatsu and Jack.
Do me a favor. Again, please be pedantic. Show step by step how you did that.
To deploy a NPC, a monster, you go to the NPC's flyout. The NPC's flyout does not exist for players, members, non-story. Only storytellers see the NPC flyout. This is your catalog of monsters or foes or whatever. There are several aspects to it, but the primary one is that you can just drag your toon onto the screen. If you drag from one side, from the left side, it's a single item. This is a fully realized alien invader. If I drag from the right side, it will be a horde, or in your case, what the Prowlers and Paragons calls a minions token. And it's a little different in that case. These ones, minion tokens, have stuff that are, this is configured for Prowlers and Paragons specifically, to indicate, like, say, the health is on the thing here. Although I think this should be labeled size and not health, but that's me. It has like a marker to say that it's larger, or that it's a horde, and that it's got a larger token. But we can change the size of the tokens as well, and I'll get to that in a minute. When you deploy
so the health of a minion group is its number of people. However, I don't think we can talk about this, but we could say just say number there, or squad size, or if you wanted to do that.
I was thinking size is probably the correct term. But this is all stuff that can be changed on a per game basis.
Sure.
I mean, we want to set it. We probably want to set it like for everybody. This is my goal as a designer. Is to always pick the optimal solution. And so if the correct solution is to call it health, we'll call it health.
Yep. The correct solution in this case would be to call it health, as long as it's clear that is a minion group. That's what the health is, and I think that's what that symbol, the upper right, is supposed to indicate that that's a minion group.
Yeah. We don't put the I'm only putting these interior tokens on larger ones that are specifically set to be minions. They exist on all of the tokens, but they're just usually hidden, and they're not necessarily visible to the players.
And so, how did you add heroes? So
deploy players, it's a little different, because player characters are part of the party. And so let me just get them back off the screen. So to deploy party people, you open up the party and you just drag them on there to wherever you wanted them to go.
So they have to already exist in the party before they can be brought in.
Yeah, but if you wanted to create a new character, you could just do that from there. This guy doesn't exist until something changes on him. Like I have to change the name or something like that. They won't exist until there's a point that's been saved. But you create characters. This is a bug where it says new minions. That should not be there. And I got to fix that. But because a minions character sheet is an alternative character sheet from a player.
Right. So, interestingly enough, and that maybe just an off the side conversation, because heroes can summon groups of minions, you may not want to get rid of that. And we can talk about that separately.
You're talking about a separate feature. If a character is going to let me I got the question. I'll answer that in a second. If your hero is summoning a minion, like a group of minions, like I've got a squad, you would actually make those as an NPC, and you would say, like, I'm going to summon a squad of, you know, cattle or buffaloes or something like that. This here is a character sheet style and type. You're creating a completely new character. It's not a new minion. All characters are characters for player characters. That's why this is a bug. It's not supposed to be.
So Jennifer has said that we've done a bit of bouncing around.
Yeah.
So Jennifer, unmute please and ask, and would you please clarify where you want to start from?
I think we actually need to start from the actual beginning, creating a tabletop, picking the game, you know, from a GM perspective, creating their own NPCs, creating PCs. Going straight into the play doesn't actually give us the structure and the foundation to understand how to actually use this.
Okay. Agreed. So
I was planning on going back to that, but we can begin that if you want. All right, let's go.
yeah, is everybody else agree on that point? Do we want to take it a little bit more step by step?
I'm cool with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's, you know, we're all brand new Prowlers and Paragons GMs, just starting out with this. We want to build a new game. Go.
yeah. Okay, so building a new game is not building a game. We have, you know, this is always a nomenclature problem. A tabletop is what we're looking for here, right? Tabletops are groups of people. Games are the games that you play on the tabletop. You can create a tabletop in multiple ways. The easiest one is going to be click this button right here. But if you wanted to go browsing games, you could do that too, right? Which then you would go here, then this bring you up here. It's got all my, this is my, we're on my local machine. This is the development server, so things are a little different here. And from here, if you wanted to create a game, you would then go to like whatever profile page for the game is, and then create the tabletop. That is not the probable way that most people do it. Most people are going to go create tabletop, and then you're going to select your game, which we'll give it a name, demo game tabletop, and we will pick Prowlers and Paragons, and then bam, that the tabletop is now created. And then we will go over here, and now we have a brand new tabletop.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm going to change the image to something, you know, we can drag our own image in here and use that as backgrounds and stuff. You can change all the stuff here. Setting up a tabletop has several different aspects in terms of what the kinds of things that you can do. You know, most of these are all the kinds of things that you're normally used to. Where can we select the images from? You can select images from anywhere. It's your standard thing. If you wanted to, you're gonna change your image. By default, this thing shows up with all the stuff that I have uploaded personally, like my personal images. And then there's going to be the ability for you to access the whole set of public images that people have uploaded. And then there's additional like features that are going to be added on after the fact on that. Right
we're
now,
we're also going to be able to upload our own images though.
You can, and you can do that already. I mean, right. I just did.
Down there at the bottom where it says upload, I would assume is where we would
click that, and then you select the button. You can select files to upload and do whatever.
Perfect.
And this is where you can go ahead and add a bunch of details about the image ahead of time if you wanted to. But honestly, everything is drag and drop. It's just going to be so much easier to just drag your shit in and have it work.
And the question exists is how much space will we have for images?
You have 100 megabytes of disk space. And after that, you know, it increases above that. There's subscription values to add, and what the next tier is 3 gigabytes. So
I can tell you right now I'll be acquiring that, but yeah, okay.
you know, it's been a discussion what the default number is.
Nice.
And the thing is that we figure that for players, most players, the entire point is to be collaborative. And the intent for behind subscriptions is going, and the intent for the way this entire system is going to work is that we have a situation where there are people who always have more money than time, and there are people who always have more time than money, and we kind of want to get that into a cycle.
So permit me to interrupt one more time and to say, if you were just joining us, this is an overall initial demo of Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition as to be used on the new Diceweaver platform, being conducted by the developer. It is being recorded and therefore will be available for broadcast on my YouTube channel and other YouTube channels as people want to host it. I will say, recognizing Brandon has his skill sets and I have mine, more than likely after I've had a chance to fully digest all of this, I will be doing a second, much more pedantic, technical writer oriented demo, doing the whole step-by-step process for the larger public. So if for any reason any of you are feeling a little bit like there's just a little bit too much going on too quickly or too scattered, don't worry about it. We will pick up all this information and we will redigest it into a much more instructional format down the road.
From the tabletop profile screen, again, you can go ahead and add boards.
That was no bag on you, by the way, buddy. I really, really truly appreciate you taking this time to do this for us. And everything. I'm just saying
I didn't take it as a bag.
Understanding that different people have different learning styles, you know, just want to make sure I address that.
Yeah, no, I'm just very enthusiastic and I'm all over the map and I have a crazy amount of ADHD and that's that. So you can do all sorts of kinds of things like manage boards and documents and stuff here. You will be able to do characters here. It's just not done yet. And again, I will explain. You'll understand, either you will understand or you won't understand, but it just has to do with the fact that characters are more complicated. You will be able to do characters here. You will be able to do monsters here. You will be able to do every single thing that you can normally do from the VTT. You will be able to do here. It's just going to be focused. And that includes chatting, that includes creating characters, rolling dice, whatever. The reason that I'm doing that is because a lot of times the VTT is a very heavyweight thing and people don't necessarily want that. And maybe you guys are just wanting to play out in the park with your phones. I mean, that's how we actually do from time to time. So that's what we're trying to support with this. Story content is a thing I want to talk about, though, and this is an important part here for how, yeah.
I'm doing the woot thing because I love this part.
Oh, I thought that was your I need to talk thing. That's what we do that in Wikimedia. That
Pause is our hold up, but this was me going raise the roof, hoot, woot, because I love this part.
So you see this link down here at the bottom in the footer that says Code of Conduct. The Code of Conduct is something that Diceweaver takes very seriously, something that I take very seriously. I design for evil, and I don't like evil. And I have no other way to describe it than that. But we have a very specific code of conduct about how you're supposed to behave and the way that you are allowed to communicate and talk with other people. The problem, it's not a problem. A lot of games and stories involve things that would normally violate the code of conduct, like, say, violence or any kind of other kinds of content that could potentially invoke the code of conduct violation. So we have to carve in an exception to say that conduct that is considered as part of the game or as part of the story content is not going to be violating the code of conduct as long as you have indicated to the users that that's possible or it's going to happen. Now, the reason why this is important and the reason why I'm talking about it is because in the past, and even today, there are times where people will join tables that with people that they're not necessarily familiar with, and then find themselves in a scene or a scenario that they had not expected. There was a point, like I seem to remember, like 2 years ago, where a woman found her character under sexual assault without any kind of previous conversation about that happening in any way, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So because of that, if your tabletop is going to be set to public, and then you can allow other people to join, we want to make sure that you've set content flags to let other potential players know what's happening. Now, these are set, we have a whole set of them: abuse, deceased person images, harm to animals, violence types, and they're set on scales. And they are designed to show you like whether or not a thing is going to be a topic in a story. So like abuse is never going to be a topic in my thing. I have a fate game where everybody plays time travelers from the past and they're all celebrities and they use photographs of each other. So therefore that would be inherent. There's no way to avoid deceased person images. By the way, there's Aboriginal cultures have a real problem with that. So that's why that's in here. Other things like sexual content, for instance, is a very topical one. I never include that. I think that crap is just, who wants to role play that for me, right? That's just not my thing. That's not my player's thing. But we will sometimes talk about romance, but it will be off stage, right? Then there's other things that are like, you know, violence types. We describe them as none, or there's going to be cartoon or something along those lines. The content flags is you will be able to do direct searching on that. So when we do lobby matching, which will maybe be next week, I think. That's where my current schedule puts it, is next week. We'll have lobby matching. You'll be able to set these preferences for you as a player. You say like, I never want a game that has sexual content in it, so never. And then you will just simply not be offered the tabletops that don't match your preferences. This is a big thing that we're planning to like really spend a lot of time on. So once you've created your board, you need to include your players. And that is easy
Pause.
enough. Yeah.
Once you've created your tabletop.
Once you created your tabletop.
Okay,
Yes.
just want to
Once
be
you
very
created your
clear about the
tabletop.
nomenclature here. Thank you.
Yeah. Once
Because
you created your tabletop,
there's no boards on this thing yet.
let's add one. So you notice I just dragged that in there, right? Real slow. Walked over here to Snowy Graveyard. Actually, let's add the shipping container. Shipping container. And then he gets dragged in. Drop file. Now I have a new map. I have two things. One, a map was added to my personal map library. So I can then import that map, whatever. Diceweaver took this shipping container and then it decided that it's going to, it filled out a bunch of basic details about it. Let's rename it to that. Let's give it a border. No, I don't like that. Let's give it that. And you know, you can make all your changes like directly from here. But just drag them in there. Done and done. Same thing with HTML documents and PDFs. You want to drag in a rule book, drag in the rule book. Once you create a tabletop, though, let's invite people. Bam. So this opens up to, by default, it's going to be your circle. And that's a keyword. I said I designed for evil and I designed for evil. I found, and I'm certain a lot of people will agree, that any kind of online social space is typically bereft, filled with, it's just filled with garbage and people being assholes and attacking each other and so forth and so on. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to actually change the kind of mode of thinking about who your friends are, or who are your, what's your friends list, who's your follow list, and so forth and so on. Because we're not a social network, we're a group of people who are trying to like help each other. So since privacy was a huge major issue and for behind the design of like a lot of what we're doing with the players and then the users, we created a kind of an inverse follow list. So what you have is your circle. Now your circle is your friends. These are people that you have decided to trust. And when you add someone to your circle, you are implicitly granting them past your firewall. The firewall being like you can set your account to private or public. And if your account is set to private, nobody can see shit about you. Absolutely nothing. The only thing that they can ever find is two things. There's two pieces of metadata that come out of that. Your username, which cannot be hidden, simply because anybody can find it. You can go search for username, create a username. And whether or not you accept private messages. Because you can set your account to private and then still allow other people to message you. If you add someone to your circle, it obviates that. To them, it's as if your account was public. So they get to see your avatar, they get to see your status, your name, any kind of information that you have ever given or put in there, they're going to have access to it. This is kind of like how LiveJournal used to do its stuff. You added to somebody to your friends list, and then you gave them permission. It was whitelisting. Yes.
Just not to go too far down this rabbit hole. I think
Mhm.
everybody here gets you are setting ultimate levels of privacy and protection, which we love. We're all in on that. I'm
Okay.
getting a lot of people like, how do I make a damn character, please? How do I make a damn character, please? So let's get to that.
You asked me to start this, and we're going in this way, though. So it's
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just, this is awesome stuff. My apologies, but yeah, we want to make characters.
Okay. Well, yeah. At any rate, you can invite people from here. If you know their username, you can do that. If you know their email address, if you don't, if they may or may not have an account, if you can just put in an email address, and it will allow you to invite them directly by email. That will then say, come here, and it'll give them a free token to get into your tabletop, even if it's private. Anyway, that's how you add stuff. These things then show up as permissions and other kinds of stuff. So let's talk about creating characters. Creating characters right now has to be done through the VTT. Sometime next week, maybe 2 weeks from now, that'll be able to be done from the profile screen. The reason is that characters are unique per game system, and while maps and boards and documents and stuff are not, they have a shared kind of thought process. Creating a character is you go to the party thing and you say new character, and we'll give this person hero name. This is my hero. I know it's me. Let's make it me. Brandon Harris. I'm super nerd. And I have an edge of, I don't know, you go through your whole thing normally as to how you would create your account. I don't tend to use max health. I don't think Prowlers and Paragons really cares about it as much. It does. You can set your max health and it'll do like magic shit in the background to like change colors of stuff. I wouldn't really spend a lot of time with that. You have been given, by default, a character has been created and it's filled with like the default stuff for each character. Everybody gets agility, everybody gets intellect, everybody gets might, perception, toughness, so forth and so on. We can add ranks to them directly, double click in to do that. Obviously seeing some Z-index bugs here. No bonus, say 5 ranks in intellect, 6 in that, 1, whatever. We can then operate it, in which case now I am the character. And you'll see that the character has now been associated and put directly inside the bottom here. It doesn't have an image. We can change that. There's a bunch of aspects we can do that. If we wanted to add a power, when you're in a windowed mode like this, you can do it from the catalog, which will open up to the side here. And clicking them will just put them in there. This works for any kind of thing that is a cataloged item. But this is not the usual way in which you would do it. Because the sidebar catalog here, this one, is not very useful. It's just names. What you really will want to do is operate the character. And then open up the catalog over here and then drag it. And then you'll notice that the power is right there. Sexual violence category. Farm to children is a good idea. I have an open one for there's no, but anyway, the content categories are always under this is, I'm responding to a text thing. The content categories are always under review, where we're always adding new ones as we come up with them. Most things can be dragged or dropped. You wanted to add flaws, we can go to the flaw catalog. And then once he's in there, did I add a flaw? I thought I did. Well, we can add them. Oh, I know why this is happening. You can make the changes to things like add specializations when I actually am using the correct database. My version is about 6 hours ahead, and I have some new features that haven't been deployed to this one.
So to clarify, when you get to the point where you want to add powers to a character, you operate the character and then open up the appropriate catalogs and drag and drop into the appropriate tab.
You can, you should. You don't have to. You can do it from this.
Let's go with one way that it can be done, and then we'll talk about other ways it can be done. But let's talk about the way that's most likely the fastest and most effective way.
The fastest and best way is going to be do things through the catalogs like this. And the reason is because you're going to have all the information about it, right? You want to add a weapon, we can browse a weapon catalog. It's got all the information, and we can just drag them over there. If you do it
and all of these things are modifiable,
yes, by
the storyteller.
Well, once they're on the character, they can be modified by the character owner too.
Okay.
So if you have a power here, you got the aura, we can add a specialization, ranks, bonuses, whatever pros and cons we have. It includes the details for it. And if you needed to delete it from your character, you can do so right there. I'm going to switch back to the tabletop I already have, if that's okay. Or do we want to talk more about how to create tabletop? Yeah.
Anybody let's go ahead and open it up. Anybody at this point?
Yeah. Let's ask questions because
sorry. Hi there. My name's Harry.
Hi.
I have a question to ask. That way of creating a character, is that the same for both a storyteller, a games master, and a player?
Okay. Yes, for player characters, it is exactly the same. There is one difference. It is possible for a tabletop to set as a preference that players are not allowed to create characters or documents. Right. So in that case, you set your storyteller will create all the characters and then assign them. And I find that that's actually tends to be what I do. I actually will create the character stub and then just pass them out. And you can change the permissions of a character like that with the there's nobody else in this tabletop, so I can't really do it. Let's go back to the other one. So if you have multiple players, characters have two permissions: operate and edit. And operate allows them to move stuff around, activate buttons, use the powers, and edit some small things like health or other kinds of factors that we don't really consider to be like the straight things. If you have only operate, you cannot do things like edit, say, a character's strength score or the ranks that they have in a power. But you can edit, like, say, their health score because you're operating it. Maybe they get damaged.
Okay, I see. So the edit is more during gameplay rather than, say, your character using XP after a game or something and adding things to the character sheet.
Yeah, edit is for editing. You're gonna spend XP. You're gonna make changes to the character. Operate is Katie couldn't show up, so somebody else has to manage her character today.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that.
That's for player characters. For NPCs, it's a little different, and that's the reason why I wanted to talk about like the other catalog. And we can go to NPCs if you want right now. Is that, or do we want to stay with characters?
I'm fine going to NPCs. Don't know what everyone else thinks.
So-
Anybody else want more on character on PCs before we do NPCs? Okay, onward to NPCs then.
All right. So NPC creation is a little different, because when you create an NPC, you're not actually creating a character. You're creating a template. And eventually there will be a thing where you can create a regular player character and then turn them into an NPC template. That's just actually is like an afternoon's work for me. I just haven't gotten around to it. In which case then you would create that NPC exactly like a player character and then turn them into a template. But character templates, same deal. You go down, you open up the NPC thing, click that, and you have to give it a name. So this is, I don't know, Garbanzo dude. And then once that's done, that opens up in a window. Now, this is where that browse catalog thing comes into play. Since these are templates, you can't inhabit them. You can't operate them. They don't exist that way. So there's no way to turn it into an operating character. And you have to use this catalog because it just won't, this is not possible for you to do it the other way. So once you've done this, you add these things. You'll notice that in the template, you can't activate the weapon. It's all your actions are disabled. You can mark things as being favorites and you can edit them, but these edits will change to the NPC template only. And then only currently inside your tabletop. So our new
you can modify all you want. You're just not changing the core thing that everybody else is drawing from.
If you modify, if this guy right here is for this tabletop only. He only exists in this as a template. He only exists in this tabletop. So I can edit him all I want.
What if I wanted to use him? What if I wanted to use him in another tabletop?
That is a number 3 on the on my Trello board again, probably tomorrow.
Cool.
Is export NPC catalog. Catalog management is a real bear. It's a major problem, and it's the slowest thing for me to be doing anything on, because the catalog management, you know what, I don't need to go down that path. Nerds will understand why managing huge amounts of JSON is a pain in the ass. So we called this guy Garbanzo something, right? Maybe he didn't show up yet in my let me reload. I have some synchronization issues I'm trying to fix. Nearly always, though, a reload will fix everything. Yeah, okay, so right. So now I have this template and I can continue to edit it, or I can just drop him onto the screen. And now I have this, he's got no name because I didn't give him a name. He's not been saved. He's a complete garbage monster of an NPC, but he exists. When you create an NPC, he's added to the local tabletop catalog. And then from there, you will be able to export that catalog to separate things. And then you will also be able to take these individual guys, and there'll be another button here that's like add to another catalog or include in another thing. And that's what we're going to do that. By default, we're giving you the catalog that came from the game. It does not include the people, the named powered people at this point. I was told that was probably not necessary. It probably wouldn't be that big of a difficulty to add that. Right now, it is not easily possible for you to add a minions flag to a thing that is coming. Again, a lot of this stuff is like, 2 or 3 days out as I get to it. but what you'll be able to say, like, this allowed this to have a minion token, and when it's a minion, I want you to say turn its threat rating to X, as opposed to you know, its edge or a health or whatever, right? You'll notice that, like, when we all right, let's pick spy. We're gonna drag a regular spy onto the screen, and then let's drag a minion spy on the screen. So this spy, if we operate this spy, we get a standard character sheet. Edge, health, resolve, vitals, powers, whatever. But if we operate the minions, it's a different sheet. It says threat, half threat. It's only got abilities and talents as flyouts, because those things aren't part of the minion sheet. It's not designed that way. This is kind of what I was talking about. Like, being able to set it to do that is a thing that is not quite there yet. Let me kill these.
So how do you do that? What you just did there?
Delete them?
Yeah.
I just pick them up. I
Sure.
click on the cultist, right? And I drag him over to the vaporizer, which has really bad colors right now. And then he's just gone. You can vaporize anything. If you don't vaporize a thing, like you want to edit a flag, or you just want to delete it from a standard thing, you can usually double click on it and then delete it from there. The same thing goes for tokens. If we wanted to remove a token, usually you can do that. Everything has these menus that do various other shit, and it seems like it's really, you know, to get to a character sheet, you can view any character sheet, but you can also just click the name and get to the character sheet. A lot of this is like not really described because it's just discoverable.
When are we going to have things like scroll to zoom, do you think?
Scroll to zoom is currently slightly, it's actually commented out. And there's, because I have a bug where scrolling to zoom was causing this thing to resize. And I can put that up on the top of my list. Just a second.
Yeah, scroll to zoom is pretty important, and we already talked about the resizing tokens thing.
Oh, you want to see me resize a token?
Did you finally get that going?
What shit, bitch? What? Of course, they override. This isn't deployed yet, so you can't quite use it, but unable to comply. But yeah, token properties will be a thing that's going to have like a bunch of stuff for it. Like you'll be able to like add. This will be deployed tonight.
Okay.
So you probably won't see it until tomorrow morning. But there's going to be a tab here or set of tabs, and you'll be able to change its size. And there's going to be conditions condition markers that you can see, or you already see a condition marker here. Technically, this is a condition marker. It says I'm a horde. But other condition markers are like, you know, frozen, cold, whatever. There's a stack, and we'll be able to add more and more as we go along. Yeah, so token changes is done through that. Oh, you can do this. This is fun. This is a new thing. So first off, boards have several different styles for the grids. I prefer invisible. You know, so the stuff doesn't appear until you move the token. But you can say, I thought I fixed the layout button on that. So there's standard borders, there's a blocks, and then there's this ghost effect, which I find ugly these days. So I tend to go to invisible, but then we can also have different modes for the pins for the tokens. So if you're using like a region map, like a city.
All right. Real quick, I just wanted to let you know that Len Pimentel is on. He is the actual core designer of the system. And he's currently hanging out. So just Want to let everybody else know Len's on and paying attention as well. And we do have some more questions when you get to a point where you're ready to take some.
I can take questions anytime.
You and I talked about the concept of super mooks, which is basically the quick build NPC character. I just want to make sure that we do cover that at some point soon.
Okay, so I'm not sure you actually need to do that, to be honest. I keep thinking about this, and the more I keep thinking about what your request was, let me see if I get this straight. Your request is basically a generic monster or token that you can pull on there and then just make some quick changes to it, right?
That has a very limited number of things that you input and off you go.
Right. So I feel like we can create a generic monster for that and then just use him. So like you just do Bob the Minion and operate him and then just changes data super fast. Sometimes that's all that needs to happen. So I'm intending to do a bookmark function for this where you can go down through your creatures. Like you're gonna do a villain layer. You only are going to have the following monsters in the villain layer. You can bookmark them and then they'll be up here and then you can quickly pull them in there.
What we need is the ability to grab a blank and go, here's their threat rating. This is their half threat rating. Here's the 3 or 4 things that we're going to give them that helps me figure out what their edge is supposed to be and what their health is supposed to be. Boom, off I go.
Yeah, like I understand that. I understand the I understand the problem space. I think that there's possibly an easier way to solve it is what I'm getting at. And I think that I haven't quite gotten the time to like address it, but the closest way to do that, I guess, would be the equivalent of you would drag a generic token that we will create and it will behave exactly like every other thing. And then if you wanted to change its threat or you wanted to, I can't, oh, that's why it's happening, is because I'm double clicking it, not single clicking it. If you wanted to change its threat, you could just do it right there. You wanted to change the health, you just do it right there. It's not a thing like opening up additional bunch of different menus. That's kind of the thing that I'm thinking is like,
right.
From the way you were describing it, that felt like what you wanted. And I feel like that's
the easiest way would then be to create in that menu that you showed before something simply called super mook with a generic token image or whatever. You could literally be just like an empty silhouette and then people can change the image as they want. Yeah, that'll do it. You
have literally described what my solution was right here. See this thing right here? Monster icons, tokens, keys, and legend. That is the quote unquote Trello board entry for me in my head to think about that. Like just really generic monster icon, really generic hero icon, really generic civilian icon. And I just have to find the icons.
Perfect. And we have some art assets even inside what we've shared with you from the P&P side that you could, we would not mind. Len can correct me on this, but if they were to stand in as the generics, and then people would identify that the P&P art is, sort of what's being used for some of that. I think that could be pretty cool.
We would honestly, to make this for the generic tokens that you're talking about would be made specifically for Prowlers and Paragons. They would just be, I would just include them in the default faux catalog, and then just by default have them set up as bookmarkable.
Cool.
The bookmark system for NPCs just doesn't exist yet, so I mean, I have to figure out the interface for it. I think it's got to be a little star down here in the corner, but we'll get there.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions at this point?
Can we take 5 minutes? Do you want to take 5 minutes or something like
Let's
that?
take 5 for a bio. Yeah, sounds good.
Let's do that.
I'm going to pause the recording while we're on our brief break, and we'll be back in 5.
I'm just resetting up my little board here, my tunes. All right.
I just want to reemphasize that having not played the game, with us, you don't understand, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but the super MOOC idea is one of the most innovative and important elements for running this game. So from a storyteller perspective, being able to rapidly create characters, villains, foes, whatever, using the super MOOC approach is what is a unique and powerful tool in the system. And I think you and I are on the same page about how to accomplish it, but I just want to make sure that you
So
know that we're
this
good,
is-
that's we need to go. That's where we need to go.
This is not a unique thing for Prowlers and Paragons as a game system. So it's something that we've actually used, or at least in my games, we use similar kinds of things. There's a whole thing I built and set up for a rogue trader system that does this. So I'm aware of the importance of it in terms of the ease of this. It just comes down to, like, the solutions are always going to be based on the individual tabletop and the individual game. So I want to talk about die pools. Is that a thing that we want to talk about?
I'm really excited about you showing that off.
All right. I'm going to open up another window here, actually, privately. And we're going to log in. Let me see who's got. Whoops. Who's in here? Who's a player? Tag is a player. So we'll log in as Tag. And we just created this board, so it's not visible to everybody. So let's make that the activated board. And you'll notice that Tag's board changed in the background. He was forced into that. Now, he also can, at any point in time, he can go back and look at other boards. Why not? I mean, unless the storyteller decides to hide them, let him do it. I use boards as maps. So, like, we'll have, like, big region maps, and then people can flip back and forth between them at any point in time. And we use tokens and pins and all sorts of kinds of stuff. I can show you how I use that in other games, but so we've activated the board. Tag's got it. Now, rolling dice, there's multiple ways to do that. I'm currently playing Jack Dalton. I'm going to target this zombie. Oh, wait, let's start combat.
Yeah, I would say please, as pedantically as possible, step by step.
Well, you can always roll dice when you're not in combat. Combat is kind of like this kind of concept that says that we're going to, like, look at this initiative tracker. Really, it's really what it comes down to. But starting combat for all games is just as simple as clicking this button. And what that did was, in Prowlers and Paragons, really doesn't do a lot because edge is edge. Really not much to it beyond that. But, like, in another game, you might roll a D6 or a D10 or whatever kind of mechanism by which your initiative test is run. It will automatically run and then fill this initiative tracker up here. And then you'll notice that it's Jack's turn because he's got the highest edge, and it's immediately his turn. Now, I'm a storyteller. Storytellers can control any character at any time. Players only have access to the players that they have, to the characters they have. So right now, let's say that it's somebody else's players. They're supposed to play Jack Dalton. He's not available, or they're not there. I can potentially ping them. Come back to the screen. This is what it looks like if you ping yourself. Just some quick visual stuff. I need your attention. Jack's in combat now, though. He's decided he's going to attack this zombie, but maybe not that zombie, maybe this zombie. Doesn't matter. He's going to pick one.
Dude, seriously, pick one and do it.
Yeah. You switch targets by double clicking. So now he can attack, and let's say he wants to just what's a punch? Might, right? He can use might directly by clicking this button here, and it will happen. And he got 7 successes out of that. 2, 6, 4, 2, 6, right?
So everyone should be able to see the dice actually show you, right? I mean, it was already built into the character. It's rolled over there and it literally shows you how it rolled.
I click that button, this appeared. And it rolled a 2, 6, 4, 2, 6, and a 5. The 5 is ignored, right? Because it's meaningless in this system.
And then you would need to roll the zombie's defense, which in this case would be the threat rating.
Yeah, we can, now we can make that automatic. It's not done. I haven't done it, but it's possible to do that.
I would say don't, because there's always the opportunity for the game master to make adjustments to what's going on in between the attack and the defense.
So I agree, and that's why I didn't do it. I will show you an instance of how we can add workflows to stuff later, so people. Does attacking with a power work the same way? Well, yeah, if it's attackable. And this is a thing that I'm going to need some help from people from, is that you'll notice that some of these skills, some of these powers have buttons and some of them do not. And that's because, like, as near as I can tell, and I went through and did some stuff, there's some factors of like, can this be activated or not? So strike is something that can be activated.
Yep.
Right? So we can just do that from there.
Yeah, he apparently doesn't have any dice in strike right now.
Doesn't have any, that's exactly it. Let's put some dice in there. Let's put some, let's give him 10 ranks that does that. And then now, if we run strike, we should get a lot. Yeah. So you will notice that there is this little star next to it. This is your bookmark. If you bookmark things, if you star them, they appear up here. And this changes per character. This is so you don't have to go hunting. If you only ever roll your perception or your defense or your might all the time, this is your weapon.
Your faves bar is going to be, for those of us who've been using Astral, the faves bar replaces the quick action bar that they're all used to.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, without having a perfect example of what the Astral.
So the quick action bar in the Astral thing was you had this set of boxes that you could configure that would be all the things that you were regularly going to do, probably in combat or roll regularly, and you could configure the symbols and all this other kind of stuff with it. But it looks to me like instead of having a quick action bar, you have the faves bar, which is where you put all the stuff that you know you're going to use a lot.
Yeah. There are plans to do things like add icons and shit to this, but right now that's just one of those things which is like a huge amount.
No, the faves bar works perfectly for us.
So it's not configured to do this with.
Let's handle the defense action though. Let's go ahead and do the zombies defense, because that's what this group is going to want to know, and that's what people who are watching this later are going to want to see. So
this is what's the equivalent? I mean, they're all.
They would need to roll their threat to defend.
Right. So I don't have that set up as a button yet, but it will be. There'll be a little button right there that you can click and just automatically do it. But let's just go ahead and do PP3. Okay, so the zombie got 5 successes.
All right. So since we don't have that yet, that's going to be. But that would result in one of the zombies going down, so their health would go down by 1.
Yeah. Oh, not 3. This is turning these buttons, the threat buttons and so forth, into like the threat active there into a button is a configuration thing.
Okay.
I have that working in Rogue Trader or something like that, but it's just time. It's like how much effort, how much time I get to it. Okay, so the zombie rolls his defense. Zombies don't have favorites, but the other thing is we're going to add for all the monsters, for all the foes, they'll have their attack actions will be up here.
I was about to say you absolutely would put their threat rating as a favorite, and
an attack. There's going to be an attack button and a defend button.
Well, for minions, you would want threat, which is going to be anytime they try to do anything. Half threat, which is anytime they try to do anything they're not good at, and then attacks would be, if there's 1 to 2, plus 2 dice to the threat, 3 to 5, plus 4 dice, 6 to 9, So literally
Um,
all minions, that's all any of them would need in their faves is
Okay, I'm gonna need somebody to like write that out for me then.
I can do that. I've been
Yeah.
literally waiting for you when you're ready for me to start giving you these kinds of specifics, or even just
well,
giving me
yeah.
the access to put it in myself, and I'll do it.
Well, that's going to require JSON. Okay, hold on a second.
Okay, never mind. Then I can
The
just
thing is need the templates and full health thing with these minions, but they also need to be space
Yeah.
for a few made up on the fly special abilities, powers. There isn't a list.
yeah, I will send you some very specific stuff on super mooks and minions that I think is going to really speed all this up.
Yeah.
Len, do you agree?
Len sees exactly what I'm talking about. That
Len,
is exactly what my plan is,
you agree with me?
or at least what he's written there.
Okay.
Can you just walk through the die roll you just did, and is there a way to make sixes explode? Okay, Grady. I can walk you through the die roll I just did first, and then the way to make sixes explode, we'll put that in, I'm gonna put a pin on that one and we'll come back to it. Die roll. So this is a very specific macro that is players and prowlers and paragons only. And what it does is it's /pp. I can't use /p because P is already reserved for just generic pool rolls. And you can type PP 10, and it will roll 10 dice and roll it through the challenge rating. It's going to roll as the character that you're currently operating. So if you want to roll it outside of that, you have to release your character, and you can just do it directly like that. Okay, let me show you how I release the character. Over here, you have your palette of the characters that you have available to use at any point in time, and you can take control of any of them by clicking on them, or you can release your character entirely. So you're not in control of any one of them. There's a whole bunch of reasons why you may not want to have a character at any one point in time, and other reasons why you always want one. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Sometimes these things happen and you want to do things differently. All right, I will come back to that PP thing again because it's another mechanism. Now, from almost all of these, I haven't connected it to powers yet for some reason. I don't know why. There's another little icon next to it, and I hate this icon, and I'm going to change it, so don't fall in love with it. This will open up a personal pool directly with those dice already for you. Now, Diceweaver thinks of pools as two types, and there will be a third type added, but right now there's only two types. The first type is a personal pool, and the second type is a tabletop pool. A personal pool is only usable or editable by you. You can open up a personal pool either by clicking the pool button next to the item, in which case it will automatically fill with the same with the correct dice, or you can just open up a generic one that's empty, right? And then add or remove dice. Now, dice themselves, when they're sent through the pool system, through the pool roller, they're tagged. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we can do with that. And I'm only mentioning this so that we can think about it if you guys want, like, oh, let's make it do this or do this differently. Like you wanted to add, like for instance, in Mutant Zero, right? The dice, they have multiple kinds of dice. Like there's gear dice, and then there's threat dice, and so forth and so on. We would just add those features here. Wrath and Glory would have a wrath die or a hunger die for vampire. Most of the time you can always add things to the pool. I think that if we run this pool, it's going to do nothing. Yeah. The first trick in the Prowlers and Paragons challenge test is to delete every die that is not a D6 or ignore it. So it won't do that. Personal pools are only you. Tabletop pools, however, let's look over here on tag. Tabletop pools open to everyone. And tag is going to add a blue die and a red die and another red die. And then let's switch back to my screen. And I got several things that have happened here. First thing is that I get the notification that there's a tabletop pool that's been opened. And if I want to contribute to it, if it didn't, it'll automatically open on my screen first, but then I could just, close it. And that would be a way to get back to it. But we'll see that it opened up. There's 3 dice. Tag added all 3 of them. I can add my own dice. I'm going to add a blue die. Now it has my name next to them. And when Tag looks at them, they show up over here. Since he owns it, he can delete any of these dice from the pool. Since I'm a storyteller, I can delete any of these dice from the pool. But otherwise, if I were just a regular player, if I was Katie and I was connecting to it, yes. Yes, exactly, Harry. Katie would be able to add and remove her own dice. And the storyteller can add and remove any dice, and the owner can add and remove any dice. There's a bunch of plans that are happening with these tabletop pools. They're minimally going to be make sure that the storyteller says that the pool is okay, like requires permission before the player can roll the pool. There's a request to allow the storyteller to cheat, which I've been looking at and trying to decide how I want to do that, if I want to do it at all. This would be a thing like more useful in something like Star Wars or some other thing with really complex die pools where you can just set what the value of the die is going to be. When these go to the system, when these go on the other end, we're going to roll this die pool. Each one of those dice was tagged on the way in and on the way out. So if we needed to, we can go through the individual die and say, like, it had this effect, it had that effect, and it was sent by this person, and it was sent by that person. There's really not a lot of need in this system for that. But like there are some games where you get like bonus pips if you help somebody and that sort of thing. These kinds of rules can be included. You can pool. I'm planning to do pools up here in the favorites bar as well. Right now, you can't favorite a die pool, but I feel like you should be able to. That feels like it's a complicated problem. I have a lot of plans on the usability for this, so I'm willing to hear and would love to hear any suggestions and improvements for things that would make it go faster. Die tagging, neat feature, but die tagging, put the die versus skill die versus ability die is not relevant to P&P in the way for the beginning message. Yeah. The die tagging here would be for like who rolled it. And right now we don't, or who provided it. We don't show that. It just indicates success or failure. But it's possible that we could do that sort of thing. Okay, making 6s explode. All right, so what that is what we're talking about is called a workflow. And when we're in that area, we are talking about the darkest secret magic that Diceweaver has available. I don't have any workflows designed for Prowlers and Paragons, so I'm going to show you a couple from Rogue Trader. And then we can talk about, do we want to add these kinds of things to the engine for P&P, okay? Because I'm basically considering everybody here, this is like, you guys are like, you're the players, right? So you're going to tell me what we want to do better. And I think that knowing that workflows exist helps out to describe, maybe what you want to do with the exploding 6s. So I have an idea for a P&P workflow that's not exploding 6s. It has to do with the zombie defense thing, but we'll get to that in a second. All right. So pretty standard Rogue Trader thing. I'm playing a Viva. Here's an instance where the button exists up here, by the way. Executed generic toughness test. When Aviva attacks this orc with her shooter, I guess she's not going to use it. Let's say bolt pistol. She rolled a 14, and that is absolutely a hit. Now, what that triggered down here is this workflow. And this is where we would do a explode 6s thing. The workflow would be called explode 6s, and then it would execute a secondary task. And we can keep adding these tasks as we want to do. So if we would say like, okay, if the following criteria are met, there's X number of 6s, then activate this secondary workflow. We can do all sorts and kinds of crazy stuff with these. So back in the Prowlers and Paragons universe, a workflow that could be created would be one where a player attacks the zombie, and then if it's a non-player character or something like that, maybe we know automatically roll the defense die. I don't like to predefine these, so but I do like to let you know that it can be done. Part of the reason is because I, as a storyteller, always fudge stuff. So players can roll dice and miss, and then I'll be like, know what, you're close enough. Here's the fudge. Just go ahead and roll the damage, and vice versa. So these are the kinds of reasons why I don't tend to put over reliance on workflows. Workflows are more useful.
One thing that you need to realize is we haven't even really discussed the player economies, and I say that in plural, that exist in this game constantly let the players adjust and affect what's going on at any given moment. You have resolve, which is most frequently used for just a reroll. And players can spend resolve to let other players reroll. So it's not just I have to spend a resolve for my own reroll. I can spend a resolve to let my friend reroll. And I just described a cool action I did to give them the free reroll. There's luck dice that add dice to pools. There's leadership, which allows every person who has that ability to give everyone on the team a free reroll. So there's any number of things, but literally most of that is managed as a, in play. Hey, you have leadership. We might look up a little marker on the token saying that so and so has used up the leadership they got from so and so. But the other thing, of course, is I have my classic the GM is offended rule, which is where I say just re-roll. So my point is that you're going to see re-rolls as a far more common effect here than the fudge of, well, you barely missed, so we're just going to say you hit. Normally, because cause and effect are all wrapped up into the same roll, how much you succeed by is important. Therefore, because there's not a separate damage roll, it's the reroll mechanic that's more important.
Right. So that's a perfect example of like a kind of a workflow that we could easily do, is just actually just stick at the bottom of that reroll. There's some fuzziness around like how long those things stick around. Should you always ignore it? Blah blah blah. We can play around with it. Anyway, I don't want, it's not my goal here to say like this is what the workflows we should do are. It's just to say like, here's this idea, it can exist. Let's, if you guys come up with a solution or you have a workflow that you want to do, we can do it, is what I'm getting at. Adding edge as a role. Let's go ahead and put that on there. Add edge as.
So one of the things that I am looking at is, since we've had a chance, this has actually been more of a work group than a demo at this point, I think, which is fine because that's where we are with the development on this. But it does seem like we probably got a little bit more to go before we're.
I don't know what you mean. Okay. You can play it right now. That's the thing. I feel like a lot. It's good to go in a lot of ways. So what is the thing that is directly missing that you can think of?
I'm still going to need to dive in and mess with what you have so far.
Okay.
But the zoom to scroll thing is actually far more important, I think, than you realize. The being able to resize tokens and maps so that everything can be scaled correctly can't function without that.
What do you mean by resize map? That's a question I'm interested in, because people say that, and I think it tends to mean different things to different people.
All right. So one way or another, making the tokens look like they make sense in relation to the map that they're on.
Okay. Okay. So you're talking about scaling.
If I upload a map of my own creation
Yeah.
onto the system, and then I start making characters, and those characters are too large for the map, I needed a way to either resize the map or resize the tokens so that everything makes more sense.
You can already do that. You can just change the cell size. These are set to 100 pixels by average, but I think that's the default in a lot of them. But 70 is the default for many games, or 72. This is done on the map level, so I should probably expose board level.
Right. But for GMs to be able to build out their games, they're going to need absolute control over token to map ratios and such.
Yeah, this is yeah. All right, so that's
And I sent you an email that Len and I conferred on it, and I sent you an email that he feels like really nails down exactly what you need for the minions and the super moot concept. We get that in play, and we're 80% cooking with gas at that point.
Oh, hey, fun. Is it nice? Oh, great. Nice. I can't read my email without like showing you all my email. Did that just come in because I didn't get a notification?
No, I sent it just a few minutes ago, but yeah, it nails down the minimal you would need to make minions and super mooks perfectly effective for what we're trying to accomplish. But I mean, there's so much here that I am just stoked about. Like the preset, hit the button, it rolls, but it's, we can totally modify it, and there's a lot here, and I'm very excited. And I just want you to know, yes, we've been a little picky. I say we just because I've been sort of in the voice for people in the background, just because we got so spoiled by some of the options that we had, and we really want to support this venue. We want to find the home venue. So we're maybe felt like we're pushing a little bit, but we're just incredibly grateful to you for all the work that you've already put into this and all the effort that you've put into making this functional for us. And so I don't want that to be lost. I want you to know that this is kind of an elite crew you have here of early adopters for the game system itself and early adopters for using the game system online. And it's just because we want it to be the best possible, so that when we start exporting this out to the rest of the population, they know that we've all worked together to make it as good for them as possible. And it's far better than anything anyone else is doing for us right now. So I just want to make sure I acknowledge that.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I'm trying. This is my job now, right? So I got the best job in the world, honestly, I can tell you.
So I would like to take a moment to go around the horn and see if anybody has any comments or questions. Harry, anything you want to throw into the mix at this point?
First, I'd like to echo what Sean said. I'm really looking forward to using this, and you couldn't have come along at a better time. And it's great to see how quickly you've got things up and going, because I see I'm on your Discord and I see you deploying things all the time.
We do a deployment a day usually.
By the way, Harry is one of my longtime players in a campaign I've been running online with the system for a couple of years now, and he's in Oslo. So you're definitely having an international reach.
Okay, so about that, just real quick. It's not exposed at all right now, but Diceweaver is 100% localizable from 0. So if you wanted to put it in Swedish or Norwegian.
Listen, I've only been here a few weeks. I made the mistake of saying Swedish a couple of times, and the locals nearly killed me.
Oh yeah. Well, and he's obviously a Scot. He was living in London forever, so he already knew the dangers of that. But Jennifer, is there anything that you wanted to bring up or point out at this point, or what are you thinking?
My biggest concern right now is that the UI still seems, I know it works for you, Brandon, but I'm seeing some issues with the UI being complicated.
Yeah.
And I think that's a barrier to entry. There still isn't a good way beyond JSON to create new engines. That's going to be a barrier to entry. And honestly, requiring people to basically put in the full rule book in order to run a game is just not going to be practical in either game master player time terms, or, and this is one of my big concerns, basically copyright. Fair use has a limit. So the ability to basically just make something lightweight, say, here are what we call these skills, these abilities, these whatever, and just tie it to a dice pool, boom, done.
Yeah, that's the goal. The plan, I mean, I don't want to go down too deeply in the design of what Flow is in terms of a technology. Right now, yeah, it's all JSON. And the reason it's all JSON right now is because I just have not had the time to write the parser to turn it into a user-friendly interface. Creating and including the whole rule book is not required at all to create an engine. It is if you want, you don't even need the whole rule book. It's just, it makes it more immersive, I guess. If you can easily just drag the weapon from the weapons catalog onto your character, great. Obviously you just create your own thing. The intent for what you're asking is actually, that's kind of the intent behind Engine 0, and it's just sort of fallen behind in terms of other things having been taking a forward play.
Right. Sounds like you guys are understanding each other on a basic framework level, and hopefully, Jennifer, you will be able to continue to give some good advice there. But I see exactly where you're going on that. Nestor, anything that you wanted to put in?
Unmute. I mean, as I'm going through, because I'll have to admit, as you were going through explanations, I had my own account of Diceweaver up and I was putzing around with stuff and exploring beyond what you were talking about. More the only thing other than getting into the weeds and going, well, what about this and what about that, is what would be the best venue to put in feature requests or questions or criticisms or whatever? Would it be the Discord site? Would it be some other method? What is the best way for us to communicate with you?
So Discord is the quickest way to get in touch with me via, if you just want to like ping me, like I have a problem or I've got a question, I need some help, something like
okay.
that. I mean, there's a whole process if you wanted to like get on the Trello board, because this is open. The Trello board is available to everybody. And I can
This would be the group that I would feel comfortable inviting. I don't know the whole group as everybody out there, but these people absolutely.
Well, this is not just the Prowlers and Paragons Trello board. This is everybody. It's the entire thing. So if you had something, or if you were comfortable using this, great. New requests or suggestions should go into the suggestions or request thing, or if you want to see what we're currently working on, you can take a look at that. But honestly, Discord is probably going to be the 99.9.
Okay, good. Like I said, it just, as Sean said, we're going to be the people who are really going to be banging on this right away.
Yep.
And I figured, having some method for being able to, hey, I came across this. Why is it doing it this way? Is there
honestly,
be able to let you know?
People who have interacted with me on this, with this sort of a thing, I think they can, if there's anybody here, they can tell you that I respond like that, and typically fix the bug like that. Because 99% of the bugs that you encounter, 99% of the issues that you encounter are like literally like something happened and I can fix it in a heartbeat. Sometimes not. Feature requests are a little different.
Well, again, that it I'm a software engineer. I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of
Yeah.
opening tickets, managing tickets, the whole 9 yards. But like I said, if you had a process, a procedure, I wanted to make sure that those of us here were aware of it.
Right. So
This
Nestor
one-
is absolutely the person I would want plugged in on that level with you for exactly that reason. So,
Moving on.
Grady, anything you want to throw in?
Oh, this is what I'm seeing so far is beautiful. There's some of this stuff looks, if anything, a little easier to use than Astral Tabletop was. And that's saying something, especially the faves bar. And it's, it's a work in progress. You're going the right direction here, I think. I've got a lot of homebrew material that I'm making for Prowlers and Paragons. And
Yes, he does.
I'm at a stage yet where I don't know how easy that's going to be to get in here. So
Okay,
I'm going to
if
see
you
how
wanna
that goes.
If you want to talk to me offline, we can accelerate or decelerate certain parts of that process. Maybe I can, if you just like, I have a big, huge chunk of stuff, can you put it in there? I can maybe make that happen.
Yeah.
But
I've basically got an entire source book that I wrote for another game system that I'm going to be converting.
Right.
And
So
yeah, that's going to be a big project.
all of these
So-
folks, all of the folks on this call are aware of my Omniverse project, which is going to be relaunched, I should say, in the next couple of months or so, and it's going to be a venue to bring some really awesome support material into the Prowlers and Paragons Ultimate Edition space, external from what Mobius Publishing is doing. Which, I mean, it's all good. We're all friends. Everything's awesome. There's no drama or trauma or anything there. It's going to be kind of a specialty house that's going to be doing that kind of thing, and Grady's part of that. So yeah, that'll be a good connection for you guys. And finally, and intentionally left for last, Len, I wanted to let you pop in here and give your thoughts.
Thank you. I mean, honestly, I'm not a whole lot of a sort of an online virtual tabletop user, and I'm really here just to see if, not having been keyed into this too much, I might be able to be helpful a little bit. So I hope that I was. My only general thought is that I had been open to the prospect of using Astral, and I ended up not doing so because I certainly felt, for me, the front end load of preparing things not the utility in gameplay, but the front end work required to prepare for gameplay was simply something that my bandwidth wouldn't allow for. So I don't know anything about anything in terms of this stuff, but my 2 cents, aside from the other stuff I've shared today, is the absolute easiest that front end work can be. I expect the more people you will have using it, because it wasn't the use that stopped me at all. It was the front end load that I just didn't have time, space, or inclination for.
Yeah,
So.
and of the two of us, Len knows I'm much more all in on the VTT thing. So, I'm much more, I see where it's going. I see what can be done. But he's right. If we're gonna collectively help make Diceweaver a going concern up against the juggernaut that is now Drive-Thru and Roll20, and I'm not saying compete with them in any meaningful way of like, we're going to kick their ass or anything like that. But I mean, just in terms of, hey, this is an awesome place to come and do some stuff. And this place gives you some options you maybe don't have in these other spaces. Then I think we're in a good position to help make that happen. And I really appreciate that Len was here, because yes, I get it. I'm like halfway between brand new, don't know anything, and deep immersion, what you're doing. And so I can see all of the possibilities. But we need people who have Len's perspective of, this is the game I designed and this is what I want people's experiences to be. We gotta figure that out. And not just for this, but because this game and this system represents 21st century game development at the tabletop level in so many ways because of so many things that Len and I intentionally incorporated from all the great design ideas from the 20th and 21st century. This is a great test case for what this medium can do in the VTT space. So I think there's a lot of potential here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think well, I don't like to talk about things like competition and other organizations just because it's like I'm not in competition with anybody. I don't feel that that's what I'm doing. I feel like I'm building a thing. I want people to use it. I'm not trying to like break anybody down, and I'm not wealth motivated. So it's just a different, I don't know. I just have a different thing.
So in conclusion, I want to encourage everyone who's watched this so far. If you have not yet signed up for a Diceweaver account, please do so. At the same time, please join the Diceweaver Discord, because that will give you the best opportunity to interact with the creator himself, as well as the rest of us. Stay tuned on the Prowlers and Paragons Discord channel as well. And there is an Omniverse Discord channel. If you're interested, let me know. There's a whole bunch of incredibly exciting things coming along, and we're just getting started. And this is a part of the bigger plan. So looking forward to having all of you be a part of this amazing thing that we're building together, that is a creative community that supports one another's dreams and ideas. Because at the end of the day, that's the only reason any of us are doing this. So with that being said, Brandon, do you have any final words?
I mean, I can't even begin. I mean, we did not really scratch the surface on a lot of stuff. I mean, there's tons of things that you know, you search for whatever you want. I mean, it's how do you use it? I suppose the biggest thing that I would say that might be, I wish I hadn't left the screen here, is this. This help thing here is we're working on that and trying to make it as clean as possible. And a lot of times what you can just do is click on a thing and it will tell you what you're looking at. So sometimes if things are confusing in the UI, that might be helpful. I hopefully will not have any kinds of problems where it's confusing. It should be multiply easy eventually, but you know, I'm seeing forest and trees. It's about the only thing that I would have to say other than that. And please, 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 any bug, any request. And I'm very big and open for all those things. It's very easy for me to do a lot of these things. And right now I have the bandwidth to
Fantastic. Brandon and I will continue to be working together extensively in the background, folks. So any thoughts that you have, please bring them forward, because I want to see this as a wonderful home for P&P fans. Not the only home, but I wanted to see a really good and strong home. And it's certainly going to be a home for the Omniverse stuff that I'm working on. So I think it's going to be an exciting time. And Brandon, I'm incredibly grateful to you for all that you've done for us so far, and looking forward to continuing to work with you on that. And I think that's going to be, go ahead.
I wanted to comment about Len's comment he posted about the D&D 1 VTT. I think that that's going to be exactly what you said there. Exactly that. I don't think that that thing is going to be worth crap. I think that it's going to take way too much time to get anything done. And I think Hasbro did not think it through, because building an MMO takes $300 million in 5 years. So good luck.
We will certainly.
Sorry, Sean, real quick. My comment was simply that I was listening coincidentally in the last week. Most recently was yesterday on a podcast that I sometimes actually show up on. The folks were talking about the D&D 1 and their development of the virtual tabletop, and they said, listen, more power to them. We hope it's great. The individuals on that podcast said we individually are not likely to use a virtual tabletop. And, you know, for the same reason, the front end commitment about the work you need to do to set it up is just more work than any of the individuals on that podcast have available to them. Now, there may be tons of people in high school and college who have that kind of time, but
More
So-
time than money.
So once again, I think we're all in agreement that front end user interface for the game master is a huge consideration. But I believe in the fact that Brandon and I and others involved in this want to see this venue deliver on that promise in some strong ways. So while we absolutely want everyone else to succeed, because the more people gaming, the better for all of us, period. I'm happy about this new home and I'm excited. So more from me in terms of what I'll be setting up on Diceweaver in the near future. And this is just the start, my friends. So once again, thank you all for joining us, those who were on board tonight or today. And I will be posting this up on my YouTube channel. And like I said, this is just the beginning. So once again, thanks everyone. Brandon, thank you very, very much.
Oh, thank you.
And peace out, everyone. Have a great day. Keep the dice rolling.